Listen to your podcast?
I have no idea. Hey, welcome to the Glen Gauer podcast, the best podcast you'll listen to all day. Sponsored by Mission Blueprint. In the words of Tim the Toolman Taylor, sticks and stones may break my bones. No. Trick or treat. Smell my feet and give me something good to eat. Ho, 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 ho. Trick or treat, smell my feet. Isn't that a great introduction?
That's beautiful.
The last person's feet you actually want to smell would be mine.
True.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jamie Gauer in the house tonight. We're talking about something crazy called Halloween. Is this a great feast day? Is this your favorite feast day of the year?
Not at all.
Why not?
This time of year, I don't particularly like because of all the costumes and decorations that are up at Walmart or your local grocery store or Lowe's. I don't like it.
So today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about Halloween. And should you be participating in Halloween? There's a group of people that would say, oh, come on, it's fun. The kids get to dress up. And we go trick-or-treating. It's a neighborly thing. And, there's nothing wrong with it. Right? Mm-hmm. Another group would say, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Why would you do that? Makes no sense. So you probably don't know this, but about 10 years ago or so, I think probably longer than that, I was talking to one of my siblings. They were really listening to me talking about Halloween, and she recently said to me, over 10 years ago, I thought you were nuts. And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to know right away where I'm coming from, but I'm going to try to stay neutral. You can make up your own mind. But she said, 10 years ago, I thought you were nuts. Now, I agree about your position on Halloween. So I want to dive into Halloween. What's really going on? Is it a Catholic feast day? Or isn't it a Catholic feast day? Or what's really happening? So, do you remember a man by the name of Zachary King?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much.
So Zachary King came to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 2018?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And he shared his testimonies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about Zachary King?
I'll do a little bit from what I remember. He is a former Satanist that had a radical conversion and came into the church. I don't even know what year that was, but he was raised in, he was Baptist and then started diving in around the age of 8 to Satanism and the occult and became the top 10, I believe, high wizards in the world.
And a high wizard is different than a high priest, right?
Correct, yes.
A high wizard is you're at the top.
The top of the top.
This is it.
He said he was hired by the government to put spells and curses on people, things, and whatnot, and also by the Freemasons and the Illuminati. So, yeah,
he became a Christian within the last, 10 years.
I think so.
And he tells a story on YouTube. I'll put a link for you, ladies and gentlemen, so you can listen to what he has to say. But anyway, he tells, he's got this story called The Tale of Halloween. And I want to talk about that a little bit. He said there's 2 libraries in the world where the Satanists call their own. And inside these libraries, there's, of course, these books. And there's a book that Satan allegedly wrote himself. Okay, and it's called the Vault, and inside this book there is a section on Halloween, the tale of Halloween. So he talks about if you go back thousands of years, and I think we're in Europe, throughout all of Europe, thousands of years before Christianity. Again, what most people don't realize is Satan was around at the time of creation, and he's been the prince of this world ever since he trapped Adam and Eve in sin. So he's really the prince of this world. So when you, if you go into the Gospels, just before Jesus starts his ministry, right, he takes Jesus to the different places and say, if you will worship me, I'll give all this to you as if it's his. He's in control of it. And I think people are confused because we have that song, he's got the whole world in his hands. Yeah, well,
Right.
God is the creator, but Satan's in control because we gave him the power. Adam and Eve did anyway. So anyway, he tells this tale going thousands of years ago that there's these groups of Satanists. And they would begin around modern day September or mid-September, and they would always end on what we would call October 31st, Halloween.
That was their last day of their year.
Yes, that was the last day of their year. And so he said they would go around these villages or these homes, and they would demand one of three things. And the first one would be a virgin, preferably a young woman that they could sacrifice. And you could get around that if you had a lot of money. So if you had bags full of money, that would suffice. Another way you could get around it is food or livestock. Okay? And so these groups of Satanists, they would all meet by Halloween, October 31st, at Stonehenge.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it does sound familiar.
People will say this is just a funny little silly tale that's in children's stories, but these are real places. Stonehenge is a real place.
So how do you know if these Satanists, how do you know if they liked your offering? If they liked your offering, what they would do is take some fruit and they would carve it out and they'd put a weird face on it. And they would set it by your front door or at the beginning of your village as people are coming in or leaving, they would see that fruit.
That sounds familiar.
Yes, it does. And eventually that turned into what we know as a jack-o'-lantern, a pumpkin that's carved out. And what's associated with this pumpkin is demons. So if they liked your offering, if you gave a virgin, if you gave money or food or livestock, then they gave you a jack-o'-lantern. Okay? And if they didn't, they would put blood on your door. Okay? So let's just imagine this. Here these Satanists come, right? And they're coming to your door, and they do every year. And they say something very similar to trick or treat. So you had to be prepared to give one of these three things. Your virgin daughter, preferably a girl, right? Virgin daughter. Son would work too. Money or food or livestock. And if they liked your offering, they give you a jack-o'-lantern. And if they didn't, they put blood on your door. So when they put blood on the door, what would happen? Do you know what would happen?
No.
They would ask a demon to come and possess somebody in that family, and ultimately there would be death.
So like a curse, that we know of today.
Curse, maybe possession we've been talking about.
Which curses are going on today.
That's right.
It's not some fluffy story in the past.
All right. So then, again, they would all meet at Stonehenge and they would have one big celebration. So for the Christians, our biggest celebration of the year is really Easter. Okay. Some people would say Christmas. Christmas is huge too, but Easter is the moment in time where Jesus died and resurrected from death. That's huge for the Christians. Halloween is one of the three big days, and I think it's the biggest of the three. And this is
the Luciferian holidays.
Yeah, this is where the child sacrifice would happen. Now, you could probably say, someone might say to you, well, that's antiquity. That was a long, long time ago. They don't do that anymore. Any thoughts on that before I jump in?
Yeah, no thoughts.
Well, I think you know the answer.
If there's 800,000 children going missing each year from the United States, I mean, this is nothing new.
That's right. I mean, Dennis and I talked about that last week. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to figure out what to do with 840,000 people. That's a lot of people.
So what would they do with this virgin daughter? Would they make her join their group, or?
No, they would kill her. They would sacrifice
kill
her. So what they would do is they would literally do this. They would slit her wrists, maybe her feet, and they would literally drink her blood.
Oh.
And the idea of vampires, that's not fictional.
No.
They would also puncture her neck, stab her heart, and drink right out of their neck. That's really what they would do. And they found some kind of life force in the blood, and it projects longevity for them. So this is literally what they did.
And this is what really Hollywood promotes.
It seems so. If you want to make well, if you want to make sure that's true, go back and look at Mel Gibson, what he said in 2004. I thought Mel was speaking figuratively, but if you go back and look at what Mel Gibson said in 2004 and take it verbatim, it will change your mind. So here we have this massive satanic event on Halloween. The question I would have is, well, or somebody might say, well, this doesn't happen anymore. It's not happening today.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to that? Anything?
If you just look at the fruit of Halloween. That's all I got to say. Look at the fruit.
Yeah, something's going on during Halloween. So I saw a video. I don't think I've shared this one with you, but this gentleman from about 15 years ago talked about what happened to him on Halloween. And he was abducted, and another young girl was abducted on Halloween. They were sexually abused, and they were kept away, of course, from their families for a year, and they were grooming him to be a high priest. And so throughout that year, or throughout that time, they were constantly sexually abused by the people in the Satanic Church. And one of the years, Halloween, they actually sacrificed her, and he watched the whole thing. And what I described just a couple minutes ago, they actually did to her. And then they brought him up, and they, again, they forced you to do all this. You know, he didn't have a choice. And he was a part of killing her. And this is modern day world. So this isn't something that's
Right.
Happened 2000. This is happening in today's world still.
Right.
So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you might think, well, this is extreme. Well, it is extreme. I mean, think about what's really happening. Or Glenn, you can't prove that. Just go to YouTube. You can Google Satanists become Christians and listen to their stories. They're there. There's a gentleman by the name of John Ramirez, another guy that I listened to, and he was talking about why you shouldn't partake in Halloween, because he would say that candy ahead of time has been cursed.
Really?
So when people are buying candy, it's already cursed. And he's also saying that so candy's cursed, and the whole thing is about curses. There's more curses put on Halloween than any other time in the Satanic Church.
Yeah.
And there's more sacrifices that are happening on Halloween than any other time in the Satanic Church. So that is very interesting.
Even the young woman that we talked to, who was in the occult, and her stories, and how she just confirmed everything that we have been looking at. And this is not something like a conclusion that we came to overnight. We both have been looking into this for probably 10 or so years. And something in my gut just said there's something wrong with this. And we didn't go as, goblins or demons or witches or none of that. When we took our kids out, they was in animal costumes and whatnot, but I still felt this discontent with this whole thing. Like, is it even a holiday? Is it even, in the church, they say it's a feast day in the church. So I'm kind of confused about that.
Sure,
because they say it's All Hallows Eve. That's what they say. But, and the church takes over some of these pagan holidays. What do you know about that?
Well, you just said it. What the church has done in the last 2,000 years is taken a pagan holiday and baptized it. They did that with Christmas, right? Instead of worshiping the sun god, it's worshiping the Son of God, and they baptize it, and they change it and make it into a good thing. I believe they tried doing that with Halloween as well. And there's some confusion in the Protestant world what Catholics do with All Saints' Day, November 1st. All Saints' Day, it's all about asking for those who have gone before us for their intercession and honoring those people. We're not talking about Jesus, and we do that. We should do that every day, honor and worship him every day. But what about those Christian heroes that dug in way deeper than you and I and other people have? We honor those, and we ask them to intercede for us because they can actually pray for us. And so All Saints' Day, we honor them, and it's a big church feast day. So we tried to take over Halloween because it was a satanic celebration for thousands of years before the Catholic Church even came into being.
Yeah, but don't you think we're being duplicit as Christians by celebrating it the way the Satanists have done it in the past?
Well, I think people don't know the Satanists are involved in this.
That's part of the problem.
But ladies, let's take a step back because, I was thinking about Dennis was going to be here and then he got caught up at work. And the nice thing about Dennis being a Protestant is he can look at stuff, hear it for the first time.
Right.
But I was thinking, what would Mother Angelica say about Halloween? And I just want to throw it at you. It's a curveball. Maybe you didn't know I was going to ask you this. But if you could kind of ad lib, right? Use your own words. But what do you think Mother Angelica would say about Catholics dressing up their kids as putting a mask on or even dressing them up as demons or goblins or whatever you want? What would she say?
I can just hear her sigh and just be like, "Oh, honey."
Oh, honey, what?
Oh, honey, pop a cough drop. And she's like, "That's enough."
Yeah.
That's no. No. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think she would say something like, what are we doing? Why would you dress your kid up like that? How do you find that? What's the purpose in Christianity for dressing your kid up as a witch? What's the purpose of that? Or buying one of those ugly masks? And how is that fun? So purpose. Everything needs to have a purpose. And I could just hear some people say, "Oh, come on, Glenn and Jamie. You guys are too conservative.
Too rigid.
Too rigid. Yeah. Can't you have any fun?" You guys don't have any fun.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we don't have any fun, do we?
No fun at all.
None.
No.
No
but
fun.
I am tired of being accused of being rigid. I mean, that's fine if they want to say that. But again, we didn't come to this overnight. This has been years and years and years and years of looking into this and talking to former Satanists and people in the occult and what they have to say and watching videos and testimony. I mean, yeah, we've done our work.
So earlier you said you had a feeling in your gut, or those weren't the exact words, but what you're talking about is discernment. Yeah, and people have to discern. Sometimes things don't feel right, which means they don't spiritually seem right internally. And you have to step back and take a look at that. And we did that for Halloween.
Yeah.
And again, I asked the question, what is the purpose of dressing up? Now, you might say, I'm just going to dress my kids up as cowboys and cowgirls. Fine. What's the purpose of dressing up, going to a house and saying trick or treat, and getting candy and bringing all that home? What's the purpose? So you could say it's entertainment. It's entertainment. And because we don't want to participate in anything, Glenn and Jimmy, what you've been talking about, we're not going to participate in the satanic church. We're just going to go trick or treating. Here's the question. Can you separate them?
That's my question too. I mean, I'm just thinking, discerning what would, having discernment skills and saying, Lord, what do you think about this? And we should be going to him about that. What do you think about me taking my kids? Am I handing my kids over to Satan if I take them to grandma's house dressed up as a puppy? No, you're not. But the opposite of the day that we are engaging in, and it's all aimed towards the consumerism and wanting us to buy more and engage in the evil of the day. But no, I don't think, we used to dress up and go out to my grandparents' place, and there was no evil in that.
Or didn't seem to be.
Didn't seem to be. But also, on the flip side of it, in scriptures, it says, because of ignorance, my people perish. And I think many Christians are just super ignorant and really not willing to investigate just the meanings of words. Words have power. And even the trick-or-treating, that has power. And it's not that we're giving our power over to, I don't know what I'm trying to say,
Satan,
but the Satanists,
or hell, or
we're protected, and God is way more powerful and all that. But why would I even mess with it if I know that it could be some kind of danger?
Right. The adage: if you play with fire, you're going to get burned. And I would ask this question, ladies and gentlemen: How do you know you're not participating in Satan's holiday? How do you know that? Well, because we just dress our kids up as cowboys or cowgirls. So what? How do you know you can separate the spirituality from what you're doing? Right? Can you? It's kind of like saying, I can walk into the Catholic Church, but I can separate myself from the presence of God in the tabernacle. Can you?
No.
I don't think you can. Right? It's a little bit also like saying, and people are going to be mad about this, and I don't really care, but yoga. I do yoga, and I just do the physical stretches and the poses. Well, the not shamans. Are they shamans?
They're called yogis.
Yogis. But there's another name for them.
There is, yeah. I can't
But
think of their name.
the yogis would say in the East, they would say, it's ridiculous that you can think you can separate the two when it comes to yoga. You cannot separate the
They
two.
laugh at us for even trying that.
Yeah, they think
I don't know
it's
if people
ridiculous.
know that, but
No, yeah.
the people that are trained in yoga, they laugh at us people over here thinking that we can separate the exercise from the actual spiritual side of it. So it's like you go running and you're going to say, this is not going to affect my soul. We can't say that because we're body and soul.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about Zachary King, who was a high wizard. He has this tale of Halloween, and I do have a link, if I didn't already say that. I do have a link for that where you can listen to it. And he talks about the roots of Halloween being satanic in nature. Okay? We have that. We have a story on YouTube that I can find the link for that I listened to of a young man who said he was abducted. And that Halloween was the Satanists, that was their high feast day. And they did crazy things on Halloween. We have another gentleman by the name of John Ramirez who says candy, it gets cursed, right? And so some of that candy that you are, your kids are consuming, they're cursed. He would say that Halloween is Satan's version of what we Christians call Easter. That's what John Ramirez would say. So, and then I was listening to another a video, and I think his name is Chuck Swindoll, and he gave this history of the Luciferians. And I think I'm going to do a podcast on that and just kind of talk about what he talked about and referring to his video. But he was saying it is believed that there are 30 million Satanists in America. That's 10%.
Wow.
So let's just apply that to South Dakota. 10%. That would be 80,000 Satanists in South Dakota. Our little town here that we live in is 2,000. 10% of 2,000 is 200. There's 200 potential Satanists in our community.
Where are they at?
Well,
Where are they at?
I don't know. I don't think they're on my block necessarily, but
Right,
generally
but-
speaking, they're right next door, and people don't even know. So, and 30 million they think is a smaller projection of Satanists in this country. So, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Now we need to talk about: is there any other evidence, empirical evidence? So I did some research on crime rate on Halloween, and I found the New York Police Department in 2018, they reported a 14% increase on Halloween, which is normal.
Whoa.
CBS News in 2018 reported a 17% increase on Halloween of crime. And there is a university professor at Northeastern who says basically that these two stats are rubbish. He says there's a 50% increase in crime every Halloween.
Wow.
So whether you want to listen to the university professor from Northeastern, CBS, or the New York Police Department, we do know indeed that Halloween feeds into crime.
Well, our friend who that we both know, who's been looking at child trafficking for years, said that October 31st is the day where most children go missing. I mean, hello.
That should cause you to think, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Well, you might say, okay, well, we're not going to participate in this satanic holiday, which I don't know if you can actually do that.
Right.
I'm not convinced that you can.
Right.
Maybe you can. I'm open to it.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced that you can. But not only that, children get taken when you're not looking, and kids go missing.
Yep.
So I wonder, there's 2,000 kids, 2,000 plus kids that go, 2,000 plus kids go missing every day in America. It'd be interesting to know what's the stat just on Halloween.
I know.
I'm guessing it's a lot more go missing on Halloween.
So as Catholics, Christians, knowing this information, how would you feel comfortable celebrating Halloween? Would you? What if your kids are already excited about it? They love dressing up. How would you go about that?
What are you going to do? Well, we don't, as a family here, we don't participate in the trick or treating because I think what's the point? If you want fellowship with your neighbors, have fellowship with your neighbors. Trick or treating is just once a year, and they can't even look at you in the eyes, in the face. There's a mask on. So I don't think that really counts for fellowship or being a good neighbor. And I don't know what the point is of letting your kids have all this candy. I don't think that's a good thing. But most importantly, I'm trying to think of the benefit of dressing up as a demon or a goblin.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. But then, of course, we have haunted houses. We have people make these haunted houses, and they literally scare the hell in you, right? Yeah, and so...
That place downtown Brookings.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're good, and I'm sure they're freaky and scary, but what would be the purpose of walking into a haunted house that you paid $15 to get?
Yeah, I mean, that movie that came out, Terrified 2? Did you see news articles on that?
No. What is Terrified 2?
Oh, my goodness.
What are the movies even about? I mean, it sounds like a stupid question.
Being terrified. I have no idea.
You have not seen Terrified 2?
I did not. It's a shocker. But moviegoer, it was on the Daily Wire. Moviegoers said that people were fainting, throwing up, paralyzed after watching this movie. Let's
take our kids right away.
Oh, my goodness.
Weird.
Why would you... What's going on there? Is there more than it's just a movie? I don't think so.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Cy?
There's something spiritual going on with that movie.
This brings really a big question into play here. Spirituality as a whole comes into play. And ladies and gentlemen, the 12 apostles, they had what is called the two ways doctrine. And let's apply this two ways doctrine. The one way is heaven. What cart are you going to put all your goods in? Heaven is the one way, right? And this means one way. This goes back to the 70s. We used to do that on Search all the time. So heaven is one way, one spirituality. Well, the other one is hell.
Right.
That's the other spirituality.
Right.
And this Halloween's kind of stuck in the middle a little bit for so many people.
Yeah.
And if I were to say to you, if you had to make Halloween go, the practice of Halloween and what we're doing, if you have to put it in one cart or the other, which cart would you put Halloween in?
Yeah. It's pretty basic. I think we complicate things way too much.
It's pretty simple. But I love Halloween. It's just fun. We always did it as kids. Yeah, we did a lot of stupid things as kids.
Yeah, what about those that say, though, that the skulls and whatnot stand for memento mori, which is remember your death? And it's a very Catholic thing. Yeah. Skulls are a representation of remembering your death. Remember that you're going to die. The Latin phrase memento mori. So all this death and skulls and stuff, that's what that is actually, that's what that means during Halloween. What do you say about that?
Well, I think it's important to think about your death in a healthy way. because you can't get around it. You know, we just went to a funeral for my first cousin. We did the music for it, and it's a nice reminder because we all die, and he and I are the same exact age, and he's already gone. I'm 52 now. He would have turned 52 sometime, I think, this week even.
Wow.
Right in there somewhere. So it's always good to remember your death in a positive way, that we all die. And everything we do in this life, I'm quoting The Gladiator. I love The Gladiator, a little bloody. But everything we do in life echoes in eternity, right? The Romans understood that. The Gladiator got it. What we do here on earth echoes in what cart we put our stuff in. So, but I do think there's a weird view of death, that we celebrate death in a weird way, especially in today's world. You know, last time we talked about death has become funny, or evil has become funny, right? And death has become cool, or evil has become cool.
Right.
And you can become friends with it. And the winner goes to the coward who wants nothing to do with it, right? Stay away from it all together. So I don't see how celebrating death with skulls, skeletons, is a positive Christian trait.
Yeah, does it? I think Mexico celebrates the Day of the Dead, correct?
Well, yeah, and the roots of Mexico are a little weird.
Right.
I mean, they were basically Satanists, and then Mary came, and thousands of Mexicans got baptized, right?
Yeah.
Go check out Our Lady of Guadalupe, ladies and gentlemen. Our Lady has a huge role in that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel for these families who are in the middle and they don't know really what to do. They say there's so many different Catholic articles it's confusing. And one will say one thing and another one will say another thing.
I think Catholic Exchange was one of those.
Catholic
we
Exchange,
look at that.
The Catholic Company, and it's just like when they're really searching them on what to do, should we participate, should we not participate? Is it really a feast day in the church? And I don't know. I feel for them because it is super confusing. But then what comes into play is your discernment and really asking the Lord about it and just seeing your gut instincts. You know, the Lord gave us a... you're going to have to cut this out.
He gave us a ability to discern.
The Lord gave us an ability to discern.
Sometimes we use feel, but we exchange that for discern. And I use the word feel a lot. I feel like that this is wrong. Well, I'm really discerning that this is wrong. I'm not actually conjuring up my feelings.
Right.
But he gave you an intellect and a will, and he gave you a spirit. And we baptized, can discern whether this is good or not good. And if you're not sure, just don't jump in.
Right.
See, this is it. Well, I'm not sure if Glen's right. I'm just going to take my kids trick-or-treating. Well, go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm not saying you should.
Right.
I'm not going to. We're not going to. And I know a number of families who don't participate, but I know a lot more Catholic families who do. And I'm like, whoa, I can't believe you do this. But so I think there's a lot of Catholics who just say, oh, I think you guys are too rigid. And maybe they're right in the end. I don't think so, but I'm open to being wrong on this. I think there's a lot more evangelical Christians, if I'm a betting person, that would agree with you and I.
I think so too.
Yeah, they would say, what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of trick-or-treating? I mean, there has to be a purpose. Is it entertaining? Why are we getting candy from strangers? And we tell our kids, again, these may be our neighbors, but lots of people don't go to their neighbors. They go to any house. And so, yeah.
And yeah, just for me, knowing what we know from the other side of the aisle, from Satanist point of view, that kind of sealed the deal for me, honestly.
Tell me more about that. So are you saying like when the Satanists, like a guy by the name of John Ramirez, Zachary King, when they begin to describe what Halloween is in the satanic church, that's where you go, okay, that's good enough for me.
Yeah. And when I was already discerning it as a young mom, discerning whether or not, like, why are we doing this? I don't understand the point of this. And witches, I just thought were some kind of fairy tale. Well, then you actually meet one. And that changes things a bit.
Yeah, meeting Zachary King was very fascinating about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So let's clear up the Catholic thing. It is the eve of All Saints' Day. That's true. Why in the hell are you dressing your kids up as demons?
Can we just go to mass?
Can't we just go to mass and have a party?
Yeah.
See, this is what I would say. And that's maybe rather bold, but ladies and gentlemen, why in the hell would you do that? Dress your kids up as demons or ghosts.
Or witches.
Yeah. Because there really are witches in this world and warlocks and wizards. And we got to meet one about 5 years ago. And what he said was crazy, crazy stuff. You wouldn't put foot in that cart that I use as a metaphor, the two ways. You wouldn't put anything in that cart.
You know, what stuck out to me is during Halloween, he was hired to perform a sacrifice in an abortion clinic. I don't know if you remember that at all.
I do, and I'm not sure that we really want to talk about that but it's bad.
But I'm just saying that's what they do.
Yes.
That's what they do.
It's what they do. Child sacrifice has been going on since Cain.
It still goes on.
Still goes on today, ladies and gentlemen. And if
under our noses.
Yes, and if you don't believe it, just do a little bit of research and you'll find out.
Yep.
It doesn't take you very hard. Now, you can be that person that puts your head in the sand and don't want to hear anymore and nope, but I don't want to be that person. I'd rather you prove me wrong on Halloween. I'm open to change my mind.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm putting all my eggs in. I want to get to heaven, and I'm going to stay away from dressing my kids up. And there must be a purpose to it. And again, it is fun and it is entertaining, but I'm not sure this is the kind of entertainment that we really want.
So what are we doing for Halloween? Thought we could talk about that real quick.
I have no idea. What are we doing for Halloween? You're the boss.
Usually we didn't want to go out at all because of what our kids would be exposed to.
Right.
That was kind of before we knew any of this. And I remember somebody came to our door and one of the boys was super freaked out by the costume. And I just thought, none of this. We lock the door. We go downstairs and watch some kind of family
We hide.
movie, right?
We buy candy, but we eat the candy.
Yeah. And so I thought, let's just do an All Saints Day party. But not a lot of people were doing them back then. And so we had our own. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
We just hosted our own and invited people to come. So some churches and parishes now are having these All Saints Day parties. And they can go on All Hallows Eve if they wish, or, if they're having one on November 1st.
Which is the eve
right
in the church year. It is the eve of All Saints Day.
Yeah.
All Saints Day starts on October 31st at 4:00.
Yeah.
And we need to reclaim that for the church.
Amen.
But not do crazy things.
Right. So have your own party. Have your own All Saints Day party. Ask your parish about it and whatnot. And there's tons of resources online where you can go and get ideas about having an All Saints Day party. So.
Yeah, I was just thinking earlier, the question of how many Catholics would celebrate Halloween. If I go back to my days on Net Ministries and I go back to thinking about all my friends at Franciscan University, I could pretty much guarantee that 90% of us would not celebrate Halloween.
We should do a poll.
That'd be very, very interesting.
We should do a poll online.
So what are your takeaways from today, this conversation?
Basically discernment. I think it all comes back to discernment. I don't want to tell people what to do. I want the Lord to do that. So I just want to be able to give information to other young families who are super confused because for some reason, a lot of people have been asking us in these past few weeks about, hey, I'm confused about Halloween. I hear all these different confusing things. What do you guys do? And I don't want people to do what we're doing. I want you to discern for yourself what you think you should be doing for your family. And if you're already questioning it, I think that's your answer. Honestly.
Yeah, one of the questions was, if I participate in Halloween, how did she put that? Am I...
handing my children over to the devil or whatnot.
Yeah, and I think most people would want to say no really quickly. Oh, no, you're not doing that. I'm not so sure. Now, how do you hand someone over to the devil? I'm not so sure. I think she meant, am I putting my kids in harm's way? I think that's really what she meant.
Getting in the car, going to grandma's, getting a piece of candy, saying hi to grandma, and then coming back home.
That's different.
Yeah, I don't see, there's no harm in that.
Yeah, there's no harm in some of these things. But what we're saying is this going all out in dressing up as these monsters, participating in this weird tradition that's older than Christianity.
Yeah. And, one other thing that comes to mind is Father Jim Blunt and his prayer on breaking generational spells and curses. And People just don't take this stuff seriously, I don't think.
So this is really a good way to end this podcast.
Yeah.
Is it possible, and this is really, I think, how I want to end. Ladies and gentlemen, is it possible that you take your kids trick-or-treating? Is it possible that some or all of your kids could have a curse put on them? I think the answer to that is yes. Maybe that will never happen. Maybe it will. My thing is, just stay. This is my takeaway. Just stay away from it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to take a step back and look at it for what it is. You're dressing kids up as monsters and demons. And, again, I understand some of you are going to be the Incredibles or cowboys.
Yeah.
But you're still participating in this yearly ritual called Halloween, where the roots are satanic in nature. There's other things you could do. That's my takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you should also link that prayer from Father Jim Blunt on the bottom.
I can certainly do that.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, this is good. I think this needs to be brought out into the light and just talked about. Simply just talked about. Because there's so many other confusing things, and it's kind of simple when you boil it all down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, pray. Always pray, stay safe, and may God strengthen the bars of your gates. Hey, thanks for listening to the Glen Gauer podcast, sponsored by Mission Blueprint. Mission Blueprint is a nonprofit ministry started by Glen and Jamie to sanctify the family. Our income is donation-based, and we need your help. Please support us financially by going to www.mission-blueprint.org and be a part of our financial team. Thank you, and may God strengthen the bars of your gate.